Namaste nerds, this is Navana, Budget Pup Stomper, and today we're going to be talking about Golbez Crystal Collector. This is a weird-ass little Dimir. Did I cuss in the first 20 seconds? Oh, it doesn't matter, I don't monetize. We'll cut that out in post. Golbez Crystal Collector is a Dimir human wizard legend. It's a 1/4, and it has a lot of text on it that we're going to mostly be ignoring. This guy is a Dimir Artifacts commander that says whenever an artifact you control enters, surveil one. That's going to be the main thing that we're using in the deck, using him for in the deck. And it says at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more artifacts, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, which is obviously going to be some good upside, and it doesn't come up in Goldfishing. We're not sacrificing our creatures or anything like that, but it will allow you to replay or kind of recycle your most important creatures, and you've got some really important creatures in the deck, so that'll be useful, but that's not really the focal point. The focal point is that first line: whenever an artifact enters, surveil one. And that just means you can look at the top card of your deck, decide whether you want to put it in your graveyard or leave it on top of your library. Now, you'll maybe have noticed that this violates kind of everything I've said about commander viability in the past. I don't know how long I've been doing these videos, but I always say that a commander has to be some combination of value engine, like whether it's a mana engine or a card advantage engine, combo piece, outlet, or win condition, combo enabler. And it's like Golbez isn't exactly any of those things, but it's also not exactly not any of those things. It's like almost all of those things. And so what does it do? It isn't exactly a value engine, but it very easily becomes a value engine. And like what it really does, I'll tell you here's what it does. It takes these otherwise disparate combos and cards, and it brings them together in a focal point and gives this otherwise kind of ragtag deck form. Now that's maybe a pretty weird way of saying it, but it's kind of like what it does. The commander itself is not exactly a card draw engine, but it kind of is. Like surveilling obviously has value to it, but when you surveil a malevolent hermit, then it's almost like drawing a card. In fact, it might be a little bit better in that case than drawing a card. Or when you put Matoya, Archon Elder with Golbez, it's ridiculous. It like becomes the best value engine you could ever hope to have in the command zone, like a card they would never print. And it's not that hard to find if you want to set up one of your value engines, because your deck is just I was going to say scrying, a good bit better than scrying. It's surveilling nonstop. So you're just like dropping these 0 cost and 1 cost artifacts, and you're just shoveling cards off into the graveyard, and you're digging through the cards in your deck until you find the pieces that you need to really get the thing going. Now, this isn't a turbo deck. It's not going to like turbo combo off and like storm kill everybody on turn 3 or even 4 most of the time, although it can. It's more going to be like a control deck that's when you're playing this deck, the way that I would advise playing it is to kind of be, what do they call it, like the little bean. You want to be kind of like the guy, I'm not doing anything, I'm just helping us to survive, right? You're going to be stifling early win attempts. You're packing lots of interaction. But you're not even packing a tremendous amount of interaction. I mean, we've got plenty. But just like you're not packing a tremendous amount of interaction, you're not packing a tremendous number of tutors, and you've got just the right number of combo pieces. But what Golbez kind of ends up becoming is sort of like a force multiplier for your tutors. That might be a good way to think of it, actually. So that you're going to get the things you need when you need them more reliably. So you're going to sit back and you're going to establish a board state that doesn't look like it's doing very much. And you're just going to be kind of getting value. You're just going to be shopping for value while helping the table to stay alive, right? Somebody tries to go off on turn 4 with their $100 Selvala deck, and you're going to be the guy that has the Fatal Push or Drown in the Lock or whatever. Resculpt, Rapid Hybridization. Did I already say Fatal Push? Probably. But you're going to be the guy that has the answer, but you're not going to be swimming in answers. You're going to have just the right amount of answers, right? So you're going to be stifling the early win attempts while you're assembling one of your many contraptionist value engines. Contraptionist, is that a word, or did I just make that up? I probably just made that up, in which case I think I should get some sort of credit. So whenever you say contraptionist, you think of me. So the kinds of contraptionist combos we're going to be setting up. So, well, I guess while we're on value engines, let's finish that up. So your kind of main value engines in the deck are going to be combining Golbez with Matoya. That's the sickest one. Or like Golbez with Imri plus Mishra's Bauble. Pretty good little engine there. Or Golbez plus Forensic Gadgeteer with an Ethereum Sculptor, right? Like all of these, contraptionists. That's a good way to, if that's not a word, it ought to be one. Or like Golbez plus a reconfigured reality chip. The reality chip says as long as it's attached to a creature, don't put it on Golbez, by the way, put it on like a Memnite or something. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library, which is really, really powerful. But when you can actively set the top of your library, it's a good bit more powerful. So we've got these reality chip. I think this is going to be a good segue. Oh, and Riddlesmith. Just thought I'd mention it, right? Reality chip. We've got these reality chip-like effects. The last cut I made in the deck after goldfishing it a ton, it's so fun, was the kind of the first one that I put in, I think, Mystic Forge. But we've got these other versions, better versions, all of them. In fact, I think most of them are strictly better versions of Mystic Forge. These are your future sight effects that allow you to play cards from the top of your library. We've got the reality chip. We've got Bolas's Citadel, Crystal Skull, these sorts of cards. So let's go into one of the actual combos with them. So let's just stick with the reality chip. We've got the reality chip reconfigured onto a Memnite. So now we can cast spells from the top of our library. We somehow managed to find, there's plenty of tutors to find, Sensei's Divining Top. Or maybe we find a repurposing bay and we sacrifice a Tormod's Crypt to get the Sensei's Divining Top with the repurposing bay, just as an example. So we get our Sensei's Divining Top in play. With our, was I talking about the Spyglass? I think I was on Reality Chip. So we've got the Reality Chip, and we've got Sensei's Divining Top. So the Reality Chip lets us play Divining Top from the top of our library, and the Divining Top allows us to draw a card. You can tap it when it's in play. You can tap it, draw a card, and put it back on top of your library. So if you've got the Sensei's Divining Top with the Reality Chip, then you've got a little engine that says literally pay 1 mana, draw 1 card. Now if you have Sensei's Divining Top and the Reality Chip with any of the cost reducers, and there's a number of them in the deck, like Ethereum Sculptor, Foundry Inspector, Joyra's Familiar. So let's say you've got Joyra's Familiar and you have the Reality Chip reconfigured onto your Joyra's Familiar. Then you've got your Sensei's Divining Top. You've got not just an engine at that point, now you've won the game. You have the ability to draw your entire deck at that point. And since you've got your commander in play also, whether I mentioned it or not, you'll also be able to decide what cards you're putting in the graveyard while you draw your deck. Sensei's Divining Top, if it costs 0 because you've got an Ethereum Sculptor out, or sorry, Joyra's Familiar out, then you can cast this from on top of your library for 0 mana with the Reality Chip. And then you tap it to draw a card, and then you put the Divining Top back on top of your deck. So you draw the card that's on top of your deck, then you cast the Sensei's Divining Top from on top of your deck for 0 mana. And you can surveil, so you can put the card that's on top of the library either in your graveyard or leave it in your on top of your deck and then draw it. So you're going to be able to draw your entire deck and put as many of those cards into your graveyard as you would like to. Yeah, with any of these different pieces, the Reality Chip, Ethereum, well, okay, it'd be the Reality Chip, one of these future sight effects, plus one of these cost reducers, plus your Sensei's Divining Top means you win the game. We'll get to the exact death punch in a minute, but being able to draw your entire deck and put whatever cards you want into the graveyard means you do win the game with this deck. Or we have, say, Bolas's Citadel with the Sensei's Divining Top. If we've got Bolas's Citadel with Sensei's Divining Top, now we can pay 1 life to draw 1 card. Even without the cost reducer. And if you have that, eventually you're going to come to one of your cost reducers, play the cost reducer, and go off. Or you can have, say, Bolus's Citadel with Aetherflux Reservoir and Sensei's Divining Top. So Bolus's Citadel is a future side effect. You can play cards from on top of your deck, but you can pay life instead of mana to do that. So normally, this little combo of Sensei's Divining Top plus Bolus's Citadel is a card draw engine that is gated by your life total. But if you've got Aetherflux Reservoir in play, it says whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. And that builds up really, really fast. Faster than you would think if you actually run through it and play it out. It's the law of accelerating returns type thing, right? So you cast the Sensei's Divining Top, gain a life. You do this, crack it, put it on top, play it, gain 2 life. Crack it, put it on top, draw, pay, gain 3 life, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then so it builds up really fast, and very quickly you're able to laser cannon all of your opponents dead by using the secondary ability of Aetherflux Reservoir, which is pay 50 life and it deals 50 damage to any target. So you can laser cannon all of your opponents out by setting up any one of these engines or combos, I guess you could say. Or the other way that you're going to win with those combos is you can put whatever cards you want in your graveyard. And the card that you want to put in your graveyard might be Dread Return and Laboratory Maniac. And so then you can draw there's other combos where that's going to become more relevant, but in this situation you can either Dread Return your Laboratory Maniac into play and then draw a card off of an empty library, or you can just cast the Laboratory Maniac from hand. Either way, but there's so I don't know if you want to call that a combo or 2 combos or 3 combos. It's a bunch of combos that have intersecting parts, moving pieces, but then the other primary, and I'd say this is actually more often the way this deck is going to win, or it seems that way in Goldfishing. You've got Valley Floodcaller plus any of your, what are the 2, Banishing Knack. So you've got Banishing Knack or Retraction Helix with a non-summoning sick Valley Floodcaller, which is easy enough because you can flash this thing into play before your turn anyway. So you'll rarely have this guy out for long with him having summoning sickness. So whenever you pick up your Banishing Knack, you will say in-step cast the Valley Floodcaller, go to your turn, untap. Your Valley Floodcaller doesn't have summoning sickness. You will cast your Banishing Knack on the Valley Floodcaller, then you'll use any of your myriad 0-drop artifacts with the Valley Floodcaller and your Banishing Knack or Retraction Helix to draw your deck and put any number of the cards you would like to put in your graveyard into your graveyard. Valley Floodcaller says all of your stuff has flash, which is very good. That's very, it's an effective thing. It's very helpful. You're going to want to use this as a flash enabler probably virtually every time you cast. You're not going to hold on to this and wait for the perfect setting. You're going to put this guy in play and you're going to get value out of it. But then eventually when you find your combo, when you find your Banishing Knack or your Retraction Helix, you're going to cast the Retraction Helix on the Valley Floodcaller. Valley Floodcaller says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, birds, frogs, and otters and rats you control get +1/+1 until end of turn and untap them. Now, Valley Floodcaller is an otter, so the part we really care about is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, untap the Valley Floodcaller. So you've got your Banishing Knack or your Retraction Helix, and you've got Ethereum Sculptor. You've got your artifacts cost reduced to where your Aether Spellbomb is a 0-drop, or maybe you've got your Mishra's Bauble or your Tormod's Crypt. It kind of doesn't matter. But you've got Retraction Helix, and let's just say Retraction Helix and Tormod's Crypt. So you've cast your Retraction Helix on your Valley Floodcaller. So now your Valley Floodcaller has the ability to tap. Let me get to Retraction Helix. It says until end of turn, target creature gains tap. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So our Valley Floodcaller will be able to tap to bounce a thing. So let's say that the thing we're bouncing is, what did I say? Tormod's Crypt. So we tap the Floodcaller to bounce the Tormod's Crypt to hand. Then we cast the Tormod's Crypt from our hand. That's going to proc the Valley Floodcaller and untap it. And you might say, well, who cares, right? So we're infinitely then going to be able to tap and untap our Valley Floodcaller and cast and bounce our Tormod's Crypt, which usually doesn't get you very far. But in this deck, it's going to allow you to loot through your entire deck and surveil all of your cards that you want in the graveyard into the graveyard. So when we're going off and we're going to win, what that's going to look like is just putting all your cards into the graveyard, including your Dread Return and your Laboratory Maniac. Okay, so we've got Lab Maniac in the graveyard, and it just says if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game. Okay, so if you attempt to draw from an empty library, you win instead of lose. So we've got Dread Return in the graveyard. Of course we do, because we've got our entire deck in the graveyard. We're milling through it, right? So as long as we have 3 creatures, we can cast this for its flashback cost. And spoiler alert, we do. Because as a minimum, we have to have 3 creatures to even do the combo. So even if those 3 creatures are just Valley Floodcaller plus the commander. Oh, I guess we only need 2 creatures to do the combo. Yeah, so you have to have another creature in play. So we've got, well, I guess actually we will have a 3rd creature. I knew I was thinking right about this. So, okay. For sure, you will have 3 creatures when you're going through this combo. And the reason that is because, well, first of all, you could always just disturb the Malevolent Hermit, which is a really good way to start this combo run, right? If you even when you're going through the combo run, you're going to put the Malevolent Hermit in your graveyard, so you can disturb the Malevolent Hermit before you actually fire off the Death Punch, right? But what I'm actually talking about is the Narcomoeba that I put in the deck. So this is going to be your 3rd creature. This is the piece that guarantees that you don't virtually always have 3 creatures, but you will literally always have 3 creatures in play when you're going through this combo. So you've got Valley Floodcaller, Mishra's Bauble, Retraction Helix, Lightning Helix, whatever it's called, Banishing Knack. You cast the Banishing Knack on the Valley Floodcaller. You bounce your 0 mana artifact to hand. You cast the 0 mana artifact. That triggers your Golbez. You're going to surveil your card into the graveyard, and you're going to untap your Valley Floodcaller because you cast a non-creature spell. So now you can do it again, and again, and again. Well, while you're running through that and you're flipping all of your cards into your graveyard, you will mill past Narcomoeba. Narcomoeba says when Narcomoeba is put into your graveyard from your library, put it into the battlefield. So while you're going through this, you're going to knock your Narcomoeba into play. And so that will be the 3rd creature that you'll need to sacrifice in order to do the thing, right? So you'll definitely and always have Valley Floodcaller, obviously, when you're going through your Valley Floodcaller line. You'll always have your commander because it's necessary to turn this combo on. And you will you'll flip the Narcomoeba over, so that's going to be your 3 creature. Like at minimum, you'll have these 3 creatures, and that will allow you to pay the Dread Returns flashback cost. You'll sacrifice 3 creatures, you'll flashback your Laboratory Maniac and attempt to draw from an empty library, which you'll find very difficult because you'll have no cards in your library and you'll win the game. Okay, so that's kind of like your main kills, right? You've got your Valley Floodcaller. Oh, by the way, now this isn't that big of a deal in this deck, but just a kind of side point, if you've got Valley Floodcaller with your Soul Ring in play, if you've not seen this, if you've got Soul Ring with Valley Floodcaller and Banishing Knack, now you can make infinite mana. And in this case, you don't necessarily even need your commander. You could just have your Aetherflux Reservoir or a way to find it. So let's say you've got your Aetherflux Reservoir, you've got a Soul... Well, I guess you don't need the Soul Ring to do this either. But what I was going to say is that with Soul Ring, you can tap the Soul Ring, then bounce it. Then you can use one of the 2 mana that you are floating to cast it again, and that'll untap your Valley Floodcaller. Then you can tap the Soul Ring, put 2 mana in your mana pool, bounce it again and again and again, and tap it in between iterations, making infinite mana. So it does have an infinite mana combo in the deck, which, I mean, it's never a bad thing to have infinite mana. It's just not what we're going for. Sorry about the side tangent. But yeah, so all of the combos have as the death punch either Laboratory Maniac and try to draw, or Aetherflux Reservoir and cast a billion spells and murder everybody. But the interesting thing, I think, is that all of the combos will always work with both of your death punches. So we don't need to have a ton of backup win cons. We've really just got the 2, but I really think it's enough. So we've talked about assembling engines. We've talked about the actual combos and the finishing move, the death punch. What else is there? Well, let's see how much time we've got. So we've got some tutors, we've got some interaction, and we've got mana production. What are some interesting things? Maybe we should do some gold. Oh, no, I know what I wanted to talk about. So a couple of ways that you might turn the corner. This deck is able to cast Dig Through Time for 2 mana. And it's able to cast, what's the other one? It's able to cast Treasure Cruise for 1 mana more reliably than any deck I've ever played around with. Like, it's crazy how fast you can fill your graveyard. You can just dump your graveyard. I mean, in some of the combos, you literally dump your graveyard. But even when you're not comboing, you just have one of your value engines, like a Riddlesmith. If you've got Riddlesmith, and like most of your deck is artifacts or artifact adjacent, most of your deck cares about artifacts. This says whenever you cast an artifact, you can draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Okay, so you've got Riddlesmith, and you cast let's say you've got your commander in play, you've got a Riddlesmith in play, and you've got a Phyrexian Walker in hand. So you drop your 0 mana Walker, and you get to surveil, and then you get to draw a card, and then discard a card. And some of the cards that you're going to be discarding are cards like Deep Analysis, which I should have mentioned, by the way. Some versions of the combo that you're doing and some timings of when you're doing the combos will have you in a situation where you've got your lab man in play and you don't have any cards in your library, but you actually can't draw a card. Well, with Deep Analysis in your graveyard, that'll solve that problem for you. So while you're milling all of your cards into your graveyard, you're going to mill the Deep Analysis into the bin so that you can flash it back, trying to draw 2 cards from an empty library. But, also it's just a good value piece in the context of this exact deck and virtually everything the deck is doing. So anyway, yeah, we've got Commander, and we've got Mimknight in hand. We cast it with a Riddlesmith in play. We're doing an awful lot of digging and generating an awful lot of value. So we are going to get to our pieces and fill the graveyard and do all the things we want to do faster and more reliably than a lot of decks. But yeah, we can cast a Treasure Cruise for 1 mana, no problem. That's often going to be your kind of moment. Like when you're ready to, you're just about ready to go off, you cast for 1 mana, Ancestral Recall, find just a few more little pieces of fuel, and then you go. So it's other pieces like Paradoxical Outcome and Displacement Wave are going to be, so it's like Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, Displacement Wave, Paradoxical Outcome. The deck just breaks these cards harder than hell. It really does. And so these are, even though they're not value engines, they're like one-time effects. They're big burst effects, especially Paradoxical Outcome. This says return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to your hand. And then you draw a card for each one you return this way. So just like paint the picture. You've got, say, Paradoxical Outcome in your hand. You've got your commander in play. And you've got a Mimknight, Ethereum Sculptor, Phyrexian Walker, and Ornithopter in play. That's your board state. When you cast Paradoxical Outcome, you're going to bounce all of these cards to your hand, and you're going to draw a card for each one that you do. Then you're going to drop them all back into play, and you're going to get the value that comes from dropping each one of them back into play in the same turn all at the same time. Maybe that doesn't sound that impressive, but it really it's a big explosion that happens most of the time. Maybe I didn't set the board state up very well, but you get the idea, right? And sometimes like you've got a Soul Ring, an Ethereum Sculptor, Foundry Inspector, and some other mana rocks, and you can do this in a way that's actually mana positive or mana neutral. No, I mean, sometimes it will be mana. It is possible that it's mana positive, even without a soul ring. You just have to have the right number of cost reducers. Anyway, it's a big value play. It's a big, and Displacement Wave is the one that you most likely haven't even heard of. So this is just a good piece, right? It's 2 blue and X, so you have total control over what this is going to be bouncing. It says return all non-land permanents with converted mana cost X or less to their owner's hands. So this doesn't just bounce your stuff, it bounces everybody's stuff. And it bounces the stuff that you want to bounce. So you can set the X to be just 0 and just bounce all your 0 mana things, and then redeploy them and generate whatever value is going to come from redeploying them. For instance, you might have your Forensic Gadgeteer. We haven't talked about this one yet. Forensic Gadgeteer could be in play, and then when you cast an artifact, you're going to trigger your Golbez, and you're going to surveil 1. Then you're going to investigate, which is you're going to create a clue token. But these clue tokens, because of the second line of text on Forensic Gadgeteer, are actually useful clue tokens, because Forensic Gadgeteer says you can activate abilities for 1 less mana. So, well, it says activated abilities of artifacts you control cost 1 less to activate, and it can't go below 1. But that means that you can, for every clue token you've got, you just have to pay 1 mana, and then you can draw a card off of it, which is super good if you've got an Urza in play. I tried to squeeze Urza into the deck. It just don't fit, guys. You'd basically have to cut one of your combo lines, and the combos are you'd have to basically cut Aetherflux Reservoir. I don't think you ought to, because having the plan of just having a Bolas' Citadel and an Aetherflux Reservoir is just a little bit too good. Sensei's Divining Top makes its way into that combo also. That's the deck, guys. Let's maybe look at some starting hands. Yeah, we're at sub 30 minutes. Let's do it. Holy cow, I thought I just lost the entire video. For those of you who have stayed with me this far, I've got you may or may not have noticed that I've kind of lost my voice. This is the 3rd time I've tried to do this video. This has been so difficult for a host of reasons I won't get into, but I thought I just lost the entire video again. Where are we at here? Am I recording? I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous now. Okay. Right in our starting lineup, we've got the Matoya. That's big marks. I don't know if we keep this or not. We don't have any mana acceleration. The deck is not the hungriest for mana acceleration. We've only got 2 lands, which is a little worrisome. We'll get there, right? We'll get our commander out, and then we'll draw the things we need to draw. Oh, that's what we need to draw anyway. Okay, so now we've already got a kind of interesting decision. This is an artifact land, so it's going to ETB tapped. So do we want to play this now so that we don't care that it's coming into play tapped? Or do we want to wait until we've got the commander in play so that we get the value off of it? Generally, I'd say we want to make this our turn 1 play. But we've got Matoya, so we may even be able to wait until we've got our Matoya. That's a long time. We'll just play this. But, it's at least a consideration. We'll go to our next turn. That's a good draw. Play a land. And I think the first thing we want to do is just get our guy out. Now we don't have to worry about these things. We go to the next turn. Laboratory Maniac is a dead draw. That kind of stinks, but yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to have that. Aether Spellbomb is a little piece of interaction. We could play this and have a little piece for our opponents. I think this is really a tough one. We could do Foundry Inspector into free Aether Spellbomb. We could do Matoya and have our engine set. We could do Ethereum Sculptor. I think I like that the least. Maybe the most, actually. It would at least allow us to fake like we've got interaction held up. Yeah, I don't think there's any penalty for keeping a mana open. So, okay, let's cast this. That's an artifact, ETBing, so we're going to get a trigger. And we'll keep the Dizzy spell. We don't get to draw it. not until we get our Matoya out. But we do want to draw that. So now maybe we don't want to play the Aether. Yeah, we don't want to play the Aether Spellbomb on this turn. See, this is a little bit complicated of a deck to play, right? Because you kind of want to deploy this and have it out there. But it's like it's free anyway, and we want to draw the card that's on top of our library. So to play this right now would be wasting it, basically. So we would just hold this. Then we go to our turn 4. And, yeah, we unfortunately didn't hit any mana. But, I mean, along the way. Obviously, we weren't going to draw mana. So let's go ahead and deploy the Matoya. Yeah, this is tough. This is tricky. It's like, how greedy do we want to get? Here's what I'm thinking. What we could do is we could use our tutor. Oh, no, our tutor's not turned on. I was going to say we could use our tutor to find a counter spell of some sort, and just kind of start to hunker down a little bit. But I guess we don't have that as an option right now. That's just not the way that the deck decided to play out. So we might not even want to play our Matoya. We might want to just start going for the kill. No, that's not what we're doing. We're not going to be a greedy person. We're not going to be greedy, boys. We're going to play our engine. And then we're going to play this for 0 mana. We're going to scry. That's a juicy. I really want that, but I really, more than anything, I want to hit mana. Come on, land. Perfect. Play our Choked Estuary. You may reveal. Yeah, no, we don't have anything to reveal, so this will ETB tapped, unfortunately. Did I draw a card? Sorry. Kind of losing it here. We drew the land. Okay. Go into next turn. So now engines are online. We are up and running. Should I kind of show you what this looks like? Let's do a 2 mana Foundry Inspector. 1, 2. Because remember, we've got the Ethereum Sculptor. So now we get to trigger these in either order. So we're going to trigger the Golbez first. And now, do we want the land? I literally don't remember. Did we just draw and play a land? 1, 2, 3. I think we did. So we will surveil that. Now we're going to draw. And we draw a card. Okay. And now we are cost reduced by 2. So we're going to play this guy for 1 mana. And we're going to surveil. We'll keep that. Draw a card. And we're going to cast this. It's cost reduced by 2. So we'll just play it as a 1 mana artifact. A 1 mana rock. Oops. And we'll decide if we want. So this was on top. So we can put that into the graveyard, or we can put it into our hand. So right now we've got a bounce spell if we need it. We've got the mana to activate. We've got a counter spell. I think maybe we would stop here. Or we could keep going a bit. Let's stop here and say that we can pretty safely assume that we're going to make it another turn. Because we've got... or do we want to get a... We've got a bounce spell, so if we need to deal with a creature, we can. And we've got a counter spell that'll counter instants or sorceries. I'd feel pretty safe passing here. Now, this is like just the setup and get ready to grind style of the deck. It doesn't always go this way. In fact, it's usually a little bit faster than this. Maybe the hand was not as good as it looked, honestly. But you're getting to see the way the engines work, so probably good. Probably good. How are we doing on time? Maybe we just want to go to another one. Or maybe I should just show how we actually do assemble the win. So we've got Muddle the Mixture for, let's see, which one are we assembling? We've got Muddle the Mixture for the Reality Chip. And we've got 1, 2, 3. Dizzy spell to find Sensei's Divining Top. We probably would have wanted to do this across 2 turns to leave mana up, realistically. But then we can cast the reality chip. Oh yeah, because we can't actually reconfigure. Okay, well, we'll take another turn, untap. Oh, and I forgot, when we cast the reality chip, we were supposed to surveil 1. Okay, so this would have been on top. We probably would have put it in the grave. Maybe we would have kept it. And then drawn a card. Okay. Alright, all caught up. All back to where we should be. So now we've got all engines online. We're going to reconfigure the reality chip for 3 mana. And we'll put it... Oh, I did have more mana. So we're going to put it on the Foundry Inspector. Well, we want to put it on the least valuable piece, and I think that's probably Foundry Inspector at this point. But let's not use colored mana to do it. We'll use Palladium Mirror and a blue. Okay, so now we can look at the top card of our library at any time, and we can cast the top card of our library, should we choose to. We've got a Sensei's Divining Top we can play for free. We could have done that last turn too and got all of our triggers, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so we cast Sensei's Divining Top, which is going to trigger our commander. We'll mill that into the graveyard, and we'll draw a card. Okay. Now, we've got our Sensei's Divining Top, which we will tap and put on top of our library and draw a card. Alright, now we're going to play the top card of our library with the reality chip, and that is going to be for free because we've got, well, 2 cost reducers, but at least we've got at least 1 cost reducer. We're going to be able to play this for free. That's going to proc our commander, and then that's going to proc our Matoya, and so on and so forth ad infinitum. So we can use the reality chip to cast the top card, surveil, draw. If at any point we get stuck, which right now we're not, so we're going to play the Memnite, surveil, keep that on top, draw, play it for free. That's going to cause us to surveil and to draw. We will keep that on top, play it for free. That's going to cause us to surveil. We will surveil this into the graveyard, which will put it into play. And so you see how we're kind of storming off here. But so you could kind of storm off even without the Sensei's Divining Top, and maybe that's what we should have done. Instead of trying to tutor this out, paying the full 3 mana to tutor this up, maybe we should have just tried to kind of run the deck out this way, and then if we had to, we could finish off with the Sensei's Divining Top that we could have tutored for on a later turn. But yeah, that's the idea of the deck, right? That's one of the ideas of the deck. And the way we would finish here is we would literally just use the Sensei's Divining Top to draw our entire deck. And then we would cast the Laboratory Maniac from hand with an empty library. And then we would crack the top one more time, attempting to draw from an empty library, and we would win the game. Okay, so we're approaching 40 minutes. I think that's going to have to do it. Not the best. That wasn't the best look at how... the deck usually plays faster than that, but I think it was a good look at kind of what the deck does. So, all things considered, if you were thinking about playing the deck, probably that was a pretty good little round of Goldfishing for you, because you can see what it's actually trying to accomplish. Now, usually if you're Goldfishing, you're going to look to accomplish it a little bit sooner, but as long as you have enough interaction, enough engines, enough card draw, enough things to kind of divert your opponent's intentions, you can easily make it to, where are we at, turn 7? You can easily make it to turn 7. So it wasn't the most shining deck of how the most shining example of how the deck would have played out in a pod, but at least you get to see really more or less what the deck is trying to do. So I think that's going to do it for now, guys. Until next time, word to your mothers. East side until the day that I die. May peace be with you and also with you, but not with you. You know you are. God, I'm so nervous that I'm going to lose all this. Word to your mothers and namaste, bitches. I'm afraid to hit the stop button because I'm afraid it's not going to do anything bad, right? You know it's not. Namaste, bitches.